What's going on, everybody? It's me, Ben. I am live here, and welcome to another episode of Have At It. This is episode 94. This is Thursday, May 15th, 2025, and it has been a while. It's been almost a month since I've been on. Apologize for that. Just very busy. My schedule is really hectic, but I was determined to come on here tonight because we obviously know yesterday was the NFL schedule release. This is a big time of year. We find out which teams play who, what are the prime time matchups. It's always a fun time of year, especially, I'm a Bucks fan. I know a lot of people are fans of other teams. They want to know who they're playing. They want to know, what Monday night games they're going to get, how many primetime games, Sunday night, Thursday night, playing on Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. I mean, this is a fun time of year, because after the draft, and the NFL schedule release, it tends to kind of get a little dead for a while, NFL wise. But then we're going to have training camp coming up in July, so we're getting close. We're getting very close to another NFL season. So, without further ado, why don't we dive into it? Again, if you're new to the channel here, my YouTube channel is Ben Cornett 9015, as well as you're watching this on Facebook in the Ben Zone. So why don't we just dive into it? Obviously, we'll talk about the Buccaneers. I had predicted that we would probably get like 3, maybe 4 primetime games at the most, and we ended up getting 4, which is great. Obviously, winning the division last year, going to the playoffs. Unfortunately, we lost in the divisional round, the wild card to the Washington Commanders, who made a great run all the way to the NFC Championship game. And, so making the playoffs, having a great record, it gets you some primetime games. So, that is definitely the case for the Buccaneers. We got 4. So why don't we dive into it here? I'm going to pull up our schedule. I know a lot of Bucs fans have already seen the schedule, who we're playing, when we're playing, but I'll just give you a little breakdown of give you my thoughts on it right over here. So let's begin. Right here, there it is, the 2025 schedule. I could put it on a double screen, but I don't think you have to see my face, but but here it is. Obviously, it includes preseason games, but we're not going to dive into that because, it's just preseason. So, let's see. September. So the season starts September 7th for us. We're, as you can notice, in the red, those are the home games for the Bucs. In the white are the road games. Now, this year for the NFC teams, we will have 8 home games and 9 road games. So that's very interesting because last year we had 9 home games and 8 road games. So this year, the AFC gets the majority of the home game. They get more home games than road games. So with that being said, let's start out with week 1. The Bucs will have a division game right off the bat. They're going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. They're going to take on Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons. Should be a very interesting game. And I got to say this. last year, um, you know, let me try to pull this up real quick, see if I can get a double screen here. See if they'll let me do it. Yeah, won't let me do it there. You think I've been on StreamYard long enough I could do different things on here. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So, and I get the little screen, by the way. So we got Atlanta week 1. Again, division game. I like it because last year was very disappointing. We lost to the Falcons twice. Games that I thought we let get away from us, especially that Thursday night game last year was very disappointing. We saw that uh, Bucky fumbled the ball late. Atlanta got it to overtime. They get the game-winning touchdown. Defense ran out of gas for the Bucks, so the Falcons end up winning that game in Atlanta on Thursday night. And then a few weeks later, they beat us at home in our throwback Jersey Day creamsicle game. So yeah, very disappointing. But that was last year. This is this year. We got the Falcons. Hopefully, we could pull this one out. I think we can. I'm not high on Atlanta as a lot of people are. I know they made the quarterback switch, but I still have concerns defensively for the Falcons. So I'm not gonna jump on that bandwagon. So I can see us getting a win here. It would be great to get a win on the road to start the year, especially a division game. So we got Atlanta there. Week 2 is going to be a Monday night football game on ABC. It's going to be the Bucks at the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Texans made the playoffs last year. Unfortunately, they struggled for the most part. They were in a bad division, but CJ Stroud really had a bad offensive line. And this year, they really haven't addressed that offensive line like I would have thought. So this could be a game where our defense could really step up. Especially that we got Hassan Reddick in free agency. Vita Vea, Diaby, uh, Kaliza Cansey. These guys can stay healthy. Levante, that front seven could be really effective, especially if we got to face a bad offensive line in Houston. CJ Stroud is still a good quarterback, but this guy can't take hits like he did last year. Hopefully, at least for us in this game, we can take advantage of it. It is a Monday night game. I know Bucks fans know, a lot of them know that we tend not to do very well on prime time. But listen, if we're going to change that narrative, what better time to start now? So opening up with 2 road games is it's going to be tough, but I do like it in a way because now you get, after that, you only have 7 road games left and 8 home games. So that is a nice trade-off if you think about it. Now, speaking of home games, we go to week 3. The Buccaneers home opener will be against the Justin Fields and the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn, the new head coach there. They're trying to turn things around. Hopefully, for us, that doesn't happen in this game. That's a 1:00 game, local time. Should be a very interesting game. Offensively, the Jets should get better, but I do like our chances in this game. Now, I will say, if you in superstitions and going by history, the Bucks have not beaten the Jets in forever. So, it'd be nice to break that streak and finally get a win against the New York Jets. Even though we don't play them very often, it's once every 4 years. It would be really nice to get a win against them to open the season out for our home opener. And then after that, we got another home game, a big game. Obviously, it's going to be against the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Again, this will be a tough game. Now, last year we did beat the Eagles. We beat them pretty severely too, I might add. But also they didn't have their top players in that game. I think Devontae Smith was out, AJ Brown was out as well. So they had to really rely heavily on Saquon Barkley. But again, we still beat them. So we've beaten them the last couple times. So we got that psychological edge that will hopefully carry into this game. But it should be a good one if the Eagles and Bucks. It is a 1:00 game local time. If the Eagles and Bucks both have good records going into that game, let's say we're both 3-0 or 2-1, or one of us is 3-0 and one of us is 2-1. That's a marquee matchup. So very early on in the season. So it'll, we'll see how the Bucks are. We'll see where we're at against a team like Philly. So that should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see that game. Before we go any further, I do have some comments in the section. Let's read them real quick here. It is, here's Johnny from YouTube. Thanks, Johnny, for coming on and commenting. He says, so is this really live, Ben? No, Johnny, I recorded this a couple years ago. So I just thought I'd break it out on YouTube. So, and I predicted this is what the schedule would look like. Looks like I was right. No, I'm kidding. We are live. So, Johnny, thank you for coming on live. Ben got high in Atlanta. I'm not high on them. I mean, I think they'll be a little bit better, but again, my concerns are defensively. Can they, the secondary's got to be better, and I don't know if it is or not. I know even though they beat us twice last year, Johnny, I felt like a lot of it was on us. We didn't make plays when we should have offensively or defensively as well. We couldn't get the Kirk Cousins. That was the big problem. So hopefully our front seven can be a lot better in this game. Against these two games against Atlanta. So Johnny also says 50th anniversary. Simeon is going to be inducted into the Ring of Honor. Who has it better than us? Not the Chargers. Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations to Simeon Rice. He definitely deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. Was a key part of that first Super Bowl for the Bucks. So well deserved. I know there's others. A lot of people I've read on, fan groups that think James Wilder should be in before, and it's hard to argue that. I mean, hopefully he'll get in one day, but Simeon deserves it, so that's cool. Glad to see him in there. Corey King Brown on Facebook. Thanks for tuning in, Corey. Easy schedules. I wouldn't say easy, Corey. I mean, we'll break down the rest of it, but it should. I don't think it's that easy. It's easier percentage-wise. It's one of the easier schedules, but again, you still got to face the Lions. You got to face the Eagles. You got the Rams. You got the Bills. Not exactly the easiest schedule, but not a daunting type schedule either. So at least the way I look at it. Corey King Brown, Bucks versus Seahawks, 50 years. Yep. And that'll be week 5 in Seattle. That's a 4:05 p.m. Eastern start. That should be a very interesting game. We're going to go up against Sam Darnold. That game, always a tough game in Seattle. So, I know a lot of people say, well, the West Coast isn't too kind to the Bucks, but last year they beat the Chargers on the road. So, they can win anywhere. So I wouldn't say, even though it's a tough place to play, there's no guarantee that that's a victory for Seattle or a loss for the Bucks. So, and then we're going to keep at it with the NFC West in week 6. We got the 49ers in Tampa. That's an interesting game as well. Got to go up against Brock Purdy. I know the Niners have made a lot of changes defensively, let a lot of people go. Their defense is going to look a little different, and that might take some time for them especially when you got some rookies on that team. So we may catch the Niners at a good time only 6 games into the season. And then the big one coming up, October 20th, that is a uh, Monday night game. That's going to be against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. As we know, last year the Bucks went into Detroit, second game of the season, and beat the Lions, one of the few teams that did. So, that's great. And it's become kind of a little bit of a rivalry. A couple years ago, the Bucks or the Lions beat us in Tampa, and then in the playoffs, and then last year we got our revenge in Detroit. So hopefully, again, we can steal another road win there. Detroit, they're going to be good. I know they lost a lot of, assistants on Dan Campbell's staff. Ben Johnson going to Chicago, Aaron Glenn, defense coordinator, going to the Jets, who we're going to see in week 3. So, this will be a very interesting game for sure. Should be really good. I would think both these teams are going to have pretty good records by then, as long as both teams stay healthy. It should be a fun game to watch in Detroit, especially on a Monday night. So that'll be fun. And then we go back to our division games. It'll be our second division game of the year against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. I'm not high at all on the Saints. I think this is a year where we all know Derek Carr retired, and he is now out of there. Most likely it's going to be Tyler Slaw, the rookie. He's going to have a chance to win that starting quarterback job. So yeah, I mean, I would expect a win here, but again, it's a division game. You never know. So we gotta be prepared, especially, it's a short week as well, because we're gonna have that Monday night game against Detroit and got to go to New Orleans. So we'll see how that plays out. But, that's a game we should win. But again, you don't win them on paper. So, yeah. And then after that, we got the bye week. That would be week 9. And I like how our bye week is this year. I know last year we had it in week 5, I believe. We had it a little early than expected. I'm not a fan of that, but I am a fan of this one because I do like it in the middle of the year, so to speak. Just so, we'll get refreshed, refocused. And then, because I know some teams will get it early, some teams get it late. I know last year, I believe the Patriots got it in like week 13 or 14. So, that's tough for anybody. So having it in the middle of the week or middle of the season is always nice. So we got lucky in that aspect. Before I get to the second half of the games on the schedule, we have a few more comments here. Corey King Brown on Facebook. Thanks, Corey, by the way, for tuning in. Vincent Jackson, Ring of Honor, still waiting for. Yeah, I mean, I could see him in there soon. We all know, unfortunately, a couple of years ago he passed away. Very sad. He, that one's a question mark for me and I understand that, he played a significant part in the community and everything, and that's great. And it's good to see he's one of the good guys in football. I always felt like the Ring of Honor was more about what you did on the field, And Jackson was, a solid receiver for us in free agency. He came over from the Chargers, but the Ring of Honor to me, should be for guys who have players that have contributed on the field, were a big part of the success of the Bucks, whether, winning or losing, they had a certain amount of time as a Buccaneer. Vince Jackson was only there for a few years, so that's tough. I wouldn't be mad if he got in, but I wouldn't be disappointed if he didn't. That's just me. That's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that, but I just felt he didn't do enough on the field for the Bucks to warrant that. Because I feel like guys like James Wilder, work done. those guys, I think, did more for the Bucks, on the field than Vincent Zach or Vjax did for the Bucks. Again, because he only played for us for a few years. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Um, Agree or disagree, that's fine. But yeah, but anyway, but Simeon Rice definitely, again, he was a big contributor to our Super Bowl title, that defense. Um, you know, his his best, years were with the Bucks, so that's a no-brainer there. Here's Johnny. He says Wilder will probably never get in the ROH as long as the Glazers own the team. Hardy, in my opinion, deserves it more, and he isn't. Uh, yeah, I am surprised that Hardy's not in there yet. That is kind of surprising because I felt like he was one of those guys that, and we got to remember too, Johnny, and you know this, Johnny, but maybe a lot of people don't. I didn't when I became a Bucks fan in 1990. It was 1997. So before that, I honestly, couldn't tell you much, but I will say that from what fans like Johnny, we've discussed over the years, and a lot of Bucks fans, that Wilder was a big part of the team, and I hear stories about the Glazers not. I think Johnny, you said it to me personally, that they don't think very highly of the team before they bought it. But I don't know. I mean, I do think he deserves to get in. You know, Hardy definitely, because he was a big contributor for the Bucks defense. Right before it got really good with Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, John Lynch. So yeah, I am surprised he's not in. Maybe one day, hopefully. Um, Corey King Brown, 12-5 or 11-6. I could see that. I think that's pretty accurate. I think the Bucks have a team that can win at least 11 to 12 games. I really do. A lot of these games, I would say, you got the Cardinals, Saints, uh, Saints twice, Miami. Those kind of games, they should be able to win. They should. They should. Christopher Cole, thanks for tuning in. Johnny, I agree. And Christopher Cole on YouTube again. Thanks for tuning in, Christopher. Hey peeps, how you doing? Thank you, Christopher, coming in. Appreciate it. How you doing tonight? Here's Johnny. He says 12-6 for the Bucks this year. I didn't realize Pittsburgh and the Bills were a preseason game. Yeah, it's weird that the Bills are a preseason game as well. I think that's wrong though. I thought it was the Ravens that were a preseason game. Maybe they have it wrong on there because I don't think you could play a team in the preseason and the regular season. I think that's a rule. I'm not sure. I thought it was the Ravens, but I don't know. Well, maybe I'm wrong on that. Let's see. Oh, here's one. 100% Vjax, no question. He was so big in bringing Mike up. Yeah, I mean, Vincent Jackson definitely, I thought, helped Evans out at the beginning. They're kind of similar receivers. Obviously, Evans a way better receiver than Jackson, in my opinion. That's not a knock on Vincent Jackson, but again, it's one of those debates. I just feel like Vjax didn't do enough offensively on the field to contribute to have that kind of honor. And again, that's nothing against him personally. I just feel like there's more deserving guys like James Wilder, work done. Obviously Evans will be on there, no question. You might as well just put him on there already, but technically they can't. But as far as Jackson, I mean, if it was about being a locker room guy, then yeah, sure. I mean, Vjax definitely deserves that, but I just feel like the Ring of Honor for a team, you should, be a big contributor to the team on the field, and Jackson did some good stuff, but it was, he was only on there a few years, and he did have injuries late in his career. So I don't know. It's we'll agree to disagree. You know, here's here's an interesting one. Here's Johnny. Wilder's off-field issues will keep him out of any real discussion. Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that he had off-the-field issues. Well, if that's the case, then why is John Gruden back on the Ring of Honor? Hmm? Unless James Wilder did something outrageous. I mean, I don't know about, but um, then I don't see why he can't be on there. But again, seems like a Glazer decision. So Christopher Cole, if they stay healthy, they will win 13 to 14 games. Yeah, I mean, that's the key. Stay healthy on both sides of the ball. Guys like Antoine Winfield have to stay healthy. This year, I thought last year that was one of the problems defensively is we didn't have him, all season long, especially after we signed him to that new contract. Hopefully this year he, breaks out. And I think he will because, he feels the pressure. Like, hey, you got this new contract. I didn't live up to it. Not his fault entirely. Again, he got hurt, and nothing you can do about that. But I know there's going to be a little chip on his shoulder. So I'm very excited to see what Antoine Winfield does. Yeah, so we'll go over the rest of the schedule real quick here for the Bucks. After the bye week, the New England Patriots come to town. They're much improved. Mike Vrabel, the new head coach there, they had a pretty good draft, I gotta say. It looks like this team's on the rise, and Drake May played pretty well down the stretch. So this is a team that's going to be tough, and they could. I'm not saying they're going to win their division, but they could compete for a playoff spot. So I would keep my eye definitely on New England. And after that, we go on to week 11. Another AFC East team, the Buffalo Bills, on the road in Buffalo. That's going to be tough. Always tough to play in Orchard Park. So I expect that to be a good game. I know a couple of years ago we lost to them on, I think it was a Thursday night or a Sunday night, one of those nights. But but the last couple times we played them were 1-1. We had that game in, I believe it was 2021 against Buffalo, where we won it in overtime. So that was a fun game to watch. And then after that, we go on the road again. This time against the LA Rams. This is the week before Thanksgiving. A lot of people thought that there were rumors that this would be the night game on Thanksgiving, but it was not. This is going to be against the LA Rams. This is a Sunday night game, another primetime game, and a primetime matchup between two really good teams. Hopefully, both are going to be really good. Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford. We know that Stafford got a new wide receiver, Devontae Adams, to pair up with Puka Nacua. The Rams are good. They're legit. They were the only team in the postseason last year that kept it close with Philly, and they were, I would say, 20 yards away from possibly beating the Eagles. So this team's good defensively. They were great last year. Jared Verse, he seems to be the star on that defense. So that'll be a fun game to watch there. And then November 30th, Thanksgiving weekend, we're at home against Arizona. That's a 1:00 p.m. start. Arizona team that could be better. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. That offense should be fun to watch. That should be an interesting game as well. And then another division game going to December. We got the Saints at home. This is the second of our 3 straight home games. I like that a lot against the Saints in the division. And then a Thursday night game against the Falcons, our second matchup with Atlanta on the year. That should be a fun game as well. So, and you'll notice here, 4 of our last 5 games are going to be against division opponents, so that'll be nice. Week 16, December 21st, right before Christmas, we play the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. Um, so yeah, we don't see Carolina till December, late December. So that's interesting there. And then we have another road game, December 28th at Miami. So that's not too far away. Um, Miami, I think, I don't know if they're going to be that good this year. Mike McDaniel's job's on the line this year. If they don't make the playoffs and they keep regressing, I think he's out of there and they probably rebuild. So we'll see what happens there. And then finally, the Week 18 game, last game of the year, at home against Carolina. So we played Carolina 2 out of the last 3 games. So that'll be very interesting. Interesting how they does the schedule. I believe last year too, we played Carolina twice in a 3-4 game stretch. So I don't know. The schedulers, I guess, like to have us play Carolina twice within a 4 or 5 week span. In this situation, to be a 3 game span. So very interesting there. So yeah. Let's see here. We'll get to some comments there. That was the schedule for the Buccaneers. Let's see. Here's one. I read this one from Johnny. He says Vincent Jackson was a wide receiver who played 12 seasons for the Chargers and Buccaneers. He was selected to play in 3 Pro Bowls. Jackson had 540 catches for 9,080 yards, scored 57 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But again, the majority of that, though, Johnny, was with the Chargers. So when he came to the Bucks, I think he only played in 1 Pro Bowl or got selected to one. But still, that's very good. I mean, that's a solid career. And I do agree that him and Evans, that was a good, mentor student type of relationship, definitely for sure. Oh, I guess this is why Wilder's not in the Ring of Honor. Wilder had sexual assault charges. I see. Okay. Oh well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I don't know what to say on that, but that is disappointing. Corey King Brown, Facebook says Dexter Jackson, Ring of Honor or no. Sounds like a troll job. Corey, definitely not. I think I told this story before. Some Bucks fan I was at the gym several years ago saying, Dexter Jackson should be in the Ring of Honor, and I go, why? Well, he had the interceptions in the Super Bowl, the touchdown, and like, okay, what did he do in other games? Nothing. Then he signed with I believe it was the Bengals. Didn't do anything after that. So it's the Larry Brown effect. He had 1 great game, and that's it. But Corey, that sounds like a troll question. So, but I appreciate it. I like those. Jamel Dean plays good when he plays. Yeah, when he plays, he's a good man coverage defender, but he can't stay healthy, and that's one of the issues. That's why we drafted a corner. We drafted Benjamin Morrison, So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Johnny with the emoji. Thank you, Johnny. Bucks never lost to Dolphins since 2009, no matter where Tampa or Miami. Yeah, we got a win streak against them, and hopefully we keep it that way. I think we will. I mean, I'm not impressed with Miami right now, So, but you never know. Again, you have to win the games on the field, not on paper. But I'm confident we can beat Miami. Here's Johnny. I'm counting the Rams as a loss. They are Achilles' heel. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had success with them over the years, but again, you never know. You got to play them on the field. So maybe it's our year. Maybe it is. But the Rams are a good team, so it will not be an easy game at all. Rams good offensive line. Pretty solid. It's a solid line, and that's the key. If Stafford plays and if he's healthy, gets the ball out quick. And that's the one thing about Stafford. He's got one of the quickest releases in football. So he's always tough to, get to. That's another thing. The Bucs have to be better defensively up front, getting to the quarterback. We can sit here and say the corners, Jamel Dean's not great, or Zion McCollum is not that good, but it always starts up front. And last year we had a lot of games where we didn't really get any sacks. That's got to change. So, hopefully this year we can get like a Hassan Reddick who can come in and give us 10 or more sacks would be incredible. Would love to see that. Would love to see Diaby get it going. Get double-digit sacks as well. So that's something we definitely got to improve on. Corey says Cardinals very sneaky team. I think so. They can win 8 or 9 games. Again, their offense is starting to get better. That's a game that I could see. The Bucs every year have one of those games. Every team does, not just the Bucs, but every good team has one of those bad losses, and the Bucs could be that bad loss. Look, last year Denver, that lost early on in the season. Now we didn't know how good Denver would be, but because they eventually went to the playoffs, so it doesn't look like a bad loss in hindsight because Bo Nix played very well, and Denver's going to be another team that's going to get better. But you always have one of those losses, and Arizona could be that one team. I could see that. Question is, will Stafford be playing by then? Yeah, if he stays healthy. That's the key. I mean, the Rams better hope he's playing by then. You don't want to see Jimmy Garoppolo in there, do you? I mean, I hope we do. We can destroy him, but no. If you're a Bucs fan, if you're a Rams fan, I mean, you don't want to see anybody other than Matthew Stafford on the field. That's a good question, Christopher Cole. Yeah. We may be resting players by the last 2 games. That's possible. Yeah. I could see that. And then Tua stay healthy, Dolphins will not fall apart. No, I don't know about that. I think Miami, a lot of rumors about Tyreek Hill and everything. Defensively, I don't like them defensively. They're going to be in a tough division with Buffalo. New England's getting better. I just don't have a lot of confidence in Miami. Zion over Jamel Dean. I think Jamel's a little better, but Zion, I think the one thing I'll give Zion McCollum credit for, he can get interceptions. Jamel Dean isn't that kind of guy. He's more of a press defender, can knock the ball down, can knock people off receivers off their routes. McCollum can be a bit of a ball hawk, but at the same time, he does get beat a little bit too much. You'd like to see him, win those one-on-one battles. Jamel Dean can do that. He can win those one-on-one battles, whereas McCollum's more of a kind of a ball hawk type of corner. Good instincts, but at times can get beat by faster receivers, especially ones that are bigger and stronger. So they're 2 different type of corners, is what I'm saying. I shared this to some entertainment groups along with Bucs groups, Ben. So be entertaining, damn it. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. He's on YouTube. If you don't know, me and Johnny and Alex Loosemore, a good friend, did a show called Let's Talk, or God damn, I forgot what the NFL edition. God damn it, it's been so long, right? Like the NFL edition on Thursday nights. We used to do that show years ago, but Johnny has retired. enjoy your retirement there. And Alex doing his thing, Lions fan. But that show used to be so much fun. That's how I got my start. Those two guys brought me on their show and told me to let it rip, and that's what I did. So I thank them for that. NFL edition. We gotta have a reunion one of these days. So definitely. Ben, you should break down your other team schedule also. The Raiders. Yeah, we're gonna do that in a minute. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be on, but I'll get to that. And then hey, come on, give Jamil some credit. He did get an interception last year. He did. Yeah. Yeah, he did. That's true. Gotta give him a little love there. So definitely. All right. So why don't we switch gears here on speaking of schedules? We did that. Let me go to some other ones. Let's do the Thursday night games. That's on Prime Video. We'll go over those real quick. So I pull that up. There it is. That is the Thursday night football schedule. And you'll notice there obviously the opening night game is going to be Cowboys and Eagles. That's on NBC and Peacock. And then Friday, interesting one on YouTube. This is interesting. It's going to be on YouTube for free. It's going to be the Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil on a Friday night. So that'll be an interesting a key matchup early on. Chiefs and Chargers. I like that matchup. I think the Chargers are going to be a lot better this year. Chiefs coming off that Super Bowl loss. I'm sure they're going to want to get back to the Super Bowl, refocus. So I can't wait to see that game. But here's the Thursday night football schedule. You got the Commanders and Packers week 2. Great game there. Week 3, Miami, Buffalo, AFC East division game. Seattle and Arizona week 4, another division game in NFC West. And then another NFC West matchup, Niners and Rams in LA week 5. Eagles, Giants week 6. Steelers, Bengals, AFC North rivalry week 7. Vikings, Chargers. Should be a pretty good game there. We'll see how JJ McCarthy does. Supposedly he's going to be the new Vikings quarterback after Darnold left for Seattle. Week 9, Baltimore, Miami. Week 10, November 6th. Speaking of the Raiders, Johnny, we got the Raiders and Broncos in Denver. Classic matchup. Not wait to see that. Week 11, AFC East matchup. Jets, Patriots. Week 12, Bills and Texans. That should be a good game. Week before Thanksgiving. And then the Black Friday game, Bears at Eagles. That should be fun. Should be hopefully the Bears much improved. I thought the Bears had a low-key great free agency with picking up some offensive linemen to help Caleb out. Very important. They got Loveland, the tight end in the draft, along with Cole Kmet. Ben Johnson likes to run those 2 tight end sets there. So he's bringing that over from Detroit. Then you got week 14, Cowboys, Lions. Then our game against Bucks against Falcons. And then Rams and Seahawks. And then the Christmas night game, Broncos and Chiefs. So that'll be good. And speaking of the holidays, this came up here. We got the Christmas schedule, NFL. As you know, it is on a Thursday this year. It is the Cowboys and Commanders on Netflix, 1 p.m. Eastern. Then the Lions and Vikings, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And then Broncos Chiefs, as we mentioned, Prime Video, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. And speaking of the holidays, Thanksgiving Day right there. Go to that one real quick. Here are the games. 1 o'clock Eastern time, Packers, Lions. It's always fun to watch. Should be 2 very good teams by then. And then 4:30, the Chiefs and the Cowboys. What do you want to bet? Travis's girlfriend performs the halftime show. And then the nightcap, you got the Bengals and Ravens. That should be a fun game. AFC North games are always fun to watch. I like how they got three really good potentially good matchups here on the slate. Then the Black Friday game we just talked about, Bears at Philly. Let's go to the Sunday night schedule. This is the schedule I like here. The Sunday night game, the primetime games on NBC and Peacock. There they are. As you know, the kickoff Thursday, September 4th, Dallas and Philly NFC East battle. Then week 1, Sunday night, another rematch of the AFC division round, Ravens and Bills. Week 2, Falcons Vikings. Week 3, Chiefs Giants. Week 4, Packers Cowboys. Week 5, Patriots Bills. Week 6 is probably the matchup I want to see, the Lions and Chiefs. Falcons Niners week 7. Week 8, Green Bay Pittsburgh. You wonder if the Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers. That's maybe one of the reasons why they put that game on there Sunday night. And we know that the Steelers are playing the Jets opening day. They're assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler by then. We'll see what happens. Week 9, Seahawks Commanders. Should be an interesting game. Week 10, Steelers Chargers. Week 11, Lions Eagles. Big game there. And our game, week before Thanksgiving, Sunday before Thanksgiving, Bucks and Rams. Thanksgiving night, Bengals Ravens. And the week after, Broncos Commanders should be a really good game. 2 of the quarterbacks that are drafted in 2024, Bo Nix against Jaden Daniels. And then week 14, Texans Chiefs should be pretty interesting there. Vikings Cowboys, week 15. Week 16, Bengals Dolphins. And then Saturday will be a Peacock exclusive game. That's yet to be determined. And then the next night, it'll be the Bears and Niners. And again, games could be flexed, so you never know. There might be different games to put on this. But right now, this is what is set for now. But again, some of these games do get flexed, so we'll see what happens there. And then finally, we'll go to the Monday night games here. And I'm just going over the primetime games. And I know, Johnny, if you're still watching, as far as the Raiders, they open up at New England. That's a tough game. It's a tough game there. And then their home openers the week after that against the Chargers. So, and I believe week 3, the Raiders go to Washington and take on the Commanders. So it's a little tough schedule there to start out for the Raiders there. And then here's the Monday night schedule right here. Obviously, first Monday night game, Vikings Bears. And then week 2, we're playing the Texans on ABC. And then Chargers Raiders, they'll also be on Monday night on ESPN. And then you got the Lions Ravens. That should be a great game. Love that matchup. Jets Dolphins, AFC East matchup, along with the Bengals and Broncos. Bengals 2 good quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Bo Nix. October 6th, Chiefs and Jaguars. October 13th, Bills and Falcons in Atlanta. Bears and Commanders. The rematch. We all know what happened with that game last year between the Bears and Commanders. The Hail Mary by Jaden Daniels to win the game. Then the next week, my team, the Buccaneers, play at Detroit. I cannot wait for that game. Great matchup. Along with the Texans and Seahawks. October 27th, Commanders Chiefs. That's a big game right there. November 3rd, Cardinals and Cowboys. That'll be an interesting game. November 10th, Eagles Packers rematch from the divisional round last year. November 17th, Cowboys and Raiders, Monday night. And then Carolina, they get a primetime game. So the NFL maybe sees Carolina as the team that's improved. And I do too. I see them being better than the Falcons this year. That's just me. They're going to take on the 49ers. And then December 1st, you got the rematch of the 2 Super Bowls from Brady and Eli. But no Brady and Eli here. This is the Giants and Patriots in Foxborough. December 8th, Eagles cross-country trip to LA to play the Chargers. Should be a good game. December 15th, Dolphins and Steelers. December 22nd, 49ers and Colts. And then the 29th, Rams and Falcons. And then January 3rd, I think that's the weekend, they'll have a doubleheader. So there it is. Those are your games right there, the Monday night games. Some of these matchup: Bucks Lions, Lions Ravens, Bengals Broncos, Eagles Packers. Some good games right there. Bears Commanders, Eagles Chargers. Hell, Chargers Raiders might be pretty good. So there's a lot of good matchups here. I'm excited for that. Definitely excited for these games. Here, all right. Let's put me back on full screen here. There I am. There I am. And we'll read a few more comments here on the show here. Okay, here we go. Johnny Dean. Hey, Johnny. Here's Johnny. Here he is. He says that Raiders Broncos game is going to be very good. Should be a telling game, actually. Yeah, they always are. And by the way, speaking of the Raiders, I'm sure you've seen it online. There's going to be a movie with Nicolas Cage as John Madden. That looks pretty good. It looks promising. So I can't wait to see that. I think Nicolas Cage will do a good job with that role. So speaking of the Raiders, that should be good. Christopher Cole on YouTube. Cowboys with 6 primetime games is laughable. Yeah, I agree. It's the Cowboys. They're America's team, according to delusional Cowboy fans. Just kidding. Not all of them are delusional. Most of them. Johnny says, if you're not sick enough of the Cowboys, you will be by the end of the season. I'm always sick of them. So actually, I do kind of like the Cowboys being on primetime because they've been losing lately, and then fun to watch them lose. Now, I will say I'm a little pissed off though because we did lose to them last year on Sunday night, and that did not make me happy one bit. So yeah, I still got a grudge with that, but that was last year. Johnny, I'm here. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for being here, Johnny. Appreciate it. I want to see the Raiders beat the Cowgirls. I think they could. And listen, the Raiders, Geno Smith, he's got his running back now, Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty's looked great here. I've been watching stuff locally out here. He's doing really well in the rookie mini camps. Coaches are saying he's picking the playbook up pretty well. Works hard. He's excited to be there. So, yeah, I cannot wait. This is going to be a very fun season for the Raiders in a very tough division. But, you got Pete Carroll there now. John Spytek's the GM. He was in our front office last year for the Bucks. So, gonna miss John, but wish him the best here in Vegas. So I'm really looking for this Raiders team to improve. I really am. For the first time, I have a good vibe about the Raiders. It's not the same old Raiders. Let's put it up. Now, I've said that before, but it just feels different to me, in my opinion. But who knows? I could be wrong. All right. Tampa Bay Rays fan 2008. Thank you for tuning in, Tampa Bay Rays fan. He says Bucks minimum wins 10, maximum at least 12. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we got a lot of winnable games. Now, again, it comes down to staying healthy and, not having one of those games where, like last year with the Broncos or the Cowboys, we just didn't show up. Hopefully we'll show up for all these games this year. We should. So, and here's Johnny again. And here's Johnny. Here's the Cowboy. There he is. All right. Well, that is the NFL schedule breakdown. I broke that down for everybody. Again, I apologize. I spent the majority of the time with the Bucks, but I did go over some of the main games, and we're going to get more into it as the months, go along, because we're getting close. We're getting close to NFL season. I cannot wait. We're in middle of May right now, so you know, this is an exciting year. I cannot wait. Not just because of my team, but I mean, a lot of these matchups look really good. Um, Commanders games, those games against the Bears, Eagles, Commanders, be fun to watch. Um, our games, against the Lions, Rams, both road games, but should be very fun to watch. I cannot wait. This is going to be a fun season. Let's see here. More comments. I don't think the AFC West is all Chiefs no more. I agree. Chargers are much better. Broncos are getting better. Raiders, on paper, looks like they've gotten better too. This is going to be a fun division. It could be almost as competitive as the NFC North last year. I could see it being that type of division. I really could. Tampa Bay Rays fan, they should have a movie on Mike Ditka. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd see it. Be interesting to see who would play that Mike Ditka. Losing lately, lots left. Yeah, for 3 decades. Okay. Did you catch the FSU football transfer poll? Yeah. Well, we got Thomas Castellanos. I think I said that right. Castellanos, the quarterback from Boston College. Kind of a Jordan Travis clone, a running type quarterback. I think he has a better arm than Jordan Travis did. Norvell, runs that RPO, so Castellanos is perfect for that. Perfect type of quarterback for that role. Now, unlike DJ last year, who was more of a pro style quarterback, just never got it going. So hopefully for Florida State, they can turn this around this year. And then at Tampa Rays fan, did they get a quarterback? Yeah, Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to take off, but thank you so much for tuning in today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Johnny, Tampa Bay Rays fan, Christopher Cole on YouTube, Corey Brown on Facebook, anybody else that watched, appreciate you tuning in. And again, I'm on YouTube at Ben Cornett 9015 and on Facebook in the Ben Zone. Give me a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. I would appreciate that. And Christopher Cole, I do agree with you on this one. Brady and Spytek will turn the Raiders into winners again. Yeah, I'm pretty confident. John Spytek worked with Jason Light and Mike Greenberg. You're learning from, 2 really good football minds. So, I'm positive that John Spytek can do a great job here. He already has. You got Pete Carroll. I don't care how old he is. That's an upgrade from Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels. Pete Carroll could be 90. He'd still be a better coach than McDaniels or Pierce ever were. So, you got Geno Smith, a good quarterback who played pretty good in Seattle. He played well for Pete Carroll. So there's a lot of familiarity there. So they're turning the ship around. All I know is FSU got Jeremiah Wilson, cornerback from Houston. Yeah, it's a good pickup too. That's one thing. We lost Samuel, to the NFL. Johnny says, great show, Ben. Appreciate it, Johnny. Thank you so much for that. And Wilson's dad is a house music legend. Oh, nice. I did not know that. Thank you, Tampa Bay Rays fan. I'll look that up. And McDaniels is a great OC, not so much head coach. I agree. He's back with New England now, and they played the Raiders week 1. So how ironic. That's going to be fun. All right, guys, I'm going to take off here. But again, appreciate you tuning in, everybody. I really do. And we'll be back here next time for another episode of Have At It. So everybody, have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Take care.